Well, hey fans, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Spoilers, and today we're talking spoilers for The Boys. Now, The Boys is just one of those shows that has been around for a few years and has gained just this massive following because it shows the dark side of superheroes. I remember seeing the trailers for it when it came out, and I was like, well, that looks interesting. It kind of reminds me of Watchmen, the way the costumes are and how dark and just dreadful these heroes really are behind the curtain. And I remember I was watching the first episode where A-Train runs through Hughie's girlfriend and she's just like a puddle of blood, and that was the moment. Because I didn't expect it, that was the moment that I pretty much fell in love with the show. I was like, this is the darkness that I want to see. I want to see where they go. And of course, it stars Karl Urban and just a bunch of other big names I really like. But Karl Urban is the star. I really love him. He carries the show for me. Giancarlo Esposito as the CEO of Vought. Just like I said, so many other popular names that cameo throughout. And it's gone on for a couple of seasons, and for the first time I actually reviewed it. I reviewed season 3, and overall I did enjoy the season. I believe I gave it a good 4.4 out of 5 over on the website. Please head over there and read my review. But yeah, let's just jump into The Boys season 3. Picking up from last season, and if I remember correctly, Lamplighter's dead. Stormfront gets her ass beat by Maeve and the female and Starlight. That's like the girls get it done scene is hilarious to this day. And they've pretty much created some accountability for heroes. Neuman has created her superhero task force to actually take down heroes who are breaking the law and getting away with it. And we actually learned at the end of last season, she is the Supe who is blowing up heads. So that was like a nice way to end off last season. And we got a lot more with her this season. But Hughie is working for her in her office, and Billy Butcher is working for them and the CIA, hunting down Supes and, turning them in for the crimes that they have done. But this time around, Butcher is not killing them. He is just, apprehending them and turning them in. It's him, Frenchie, and the female. Mother's Milk he has left the group and he's trying to live a normal life to get to know his daughter and spend more time with her. And it's really good. You got the opening bit where Frenchie and the female are trying to get some dirt on Termite, and this just shows you how wild this show is. So Termite, who we actually saw in season 1, dive into another Supe's vagina when they were at that Supe orgy with the stretching Christian Supe guy. So we saw him there, but he comes back this season and he's having sex with some Barbie doll, and he goes to meet who you would assume is his boyfriend. So I believe at this point they're saying that the character of Termite is bisexual or pansexual, something like that, because we've seen him with women and men. But he's snorting cocaine and he's like, all right, I'm ready, you ready? And he's like, I'm gonna rock your dick, babe. And he shrinks down. So this is the Ant-Man joke. Why didn't Ant-Man go into Thanos' butt and just get big and blow him up from the inside? But he goes into his penis and he's stroking the sides, and the guy's like, oh, this feels great. But remember, he just snorted cocaine, and he sneezes and gets big and blows the dude in half. And the thing is, okay, when I watched all these screeners, they sent us screeners for these, and the effects weren't done. So you could kind of see what was going on, but everything didn't look great. And I powered through it, and so by the time they updated all the effects, I was pretty much done with the show. So I was kind of wondering, does this look a little better? But they pretty much had it down pat when I watched it. But he blows this dude in half. And the thing I actually do like about this scene, the look of horror on Termite's face, knowing that he just killed his boyfriend, was it was genuine shock. It wasn't like he was trying to kill this guy. It was what have I done? I've just killed an innocent person. And the issue is that the Supes have no accountability. Even though this is an accident, he would have probably gotten off because it was a sexual act gone wrong. When he sees that Frenchie has seen what he's done, his first thought is, I can't let this get out. I have to kill Frenchie. So he shrinks down and starts attacking Frenchie and the female, and Frenchie's yelling, "He's trying to get in my ass." It's so funny. It's like a really funny scene. But they take him down, and Butcher catches him in like a bag of cocaine and like dumps him out. And before he squishes him, he says, "All right, turn him on his side. He's gonna swallow his tongue or whatever." And they get him turned in. Actually, I'm not sure if this is actually the opening scene. The very opening scene, which I just skipped over. Actually, it's like a destroyed New York City. You see Vought Tower, Soldier Boy statue is knocked over, and it is Stormfront, and her hands are electricity, and it's Charlize Theron. Like, it's the movie The Dawn of the Seven, and she's talking to Homelander, and they have this big fight, and A-Train comes back, and they start attacking her, and you find out that is actually the movie. You see Homelander sitting in the theater. Of course, with everything that happened to him last season, he's just mentally breaking down. But whenever he talks to the press, he cuts on the smile. He's like, "I'm Homelander, I'm this. I like my approval rating and my points." And that's just kind of, you can see him slowly just going crazy. He can't find his son. He doesn't want people to find out how he really behaves, and it's Antony Starr is just fantastic in that role. He's the villain you definitely love to hate, and I can't wait for him to get his comeuppance. But we get back to the team. They are trying to do some good. Everybody's moving on. Hughie is openly dating Starlight and working for Neuman, and then Hughie actually sees this guy just keeps trying to get in touch with Neuman, and she keeps like blowing him off. And then it turns out like he follows her in an alley somewhere, and this guy's a Supe too, and he's like, "I miss you, come back, you can be helping us." And like she kills him by blowing up parts of his body, and Hughie sees this and hides, and he thinks to himself like, she's a Supe, she's working for Vought, she's playing both sides, and they have control over everything. There's no way we can win. So it was like a great scene. He's running like, I can't tell Butcher this, because if I tell Butcher, he's going to rub it in my face. But at the end of the day, Hughie like tells Butcher, he's like, "Look, she's a Supe. We've been wasting our time here. Vought pretty much controls everything." And it makes Butcher upset, but also happy at the same time. He knows, all right, I can go back to killing Supes. That's just the type of person he is. So moving a little forward, Vought is trying to push Temp V, because the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Robert Singer, is running for president, and once he's in charge, Temp V can be given to soldiers, and they can get superpowers and fight wars. But the Temp V only lasts 24 hours, so when Stan Edgar is talking to Secretary of Defense Singer, he's like, "Look, you guys can get superheroes for 24 hours. You don't have to worry about the maniacal, overpowered people going crazy, because after a day their powers will be gone." So some of this ends up getting into the possession of Butcher from Queen Maeve, and Butcher decides to take some, and we find out what his powers are. Typical super strength, invulnerability, and laser vision, which the invulnerability for the most part is present across every Supe. There are some, like, they have varying degrees of invulnerability. Like, it took like that little saw to even get the chip out of Starlight, but you have like A-Train, who is apparently stronger than Blue Hawk, even though Blue Hawk is also pretty strong. And like when we saw A-Train pulling that actual train back in, was it season 1 that he did that? So it's just, I feel like they're just all really strong on top of other things. But then you have the weak ones, like Haley Joel Osment's like Mesmer character, whatever he was. He wasn't really strong. He just had like mind abilities. So moving forward, he takes a Temp V. It makes him a little bit more agitated, and he basically kind of goes off the rails. But we'll get more into that. We'll get more into that later. So Butcher is still visiting Homelander's son Ryan, and Ryan kind of sees him as a surrogate father, especially after everything that happened with Butcher's wife, Ryan's mom. And they're getting along, they're having a good time. And Butcher's like, since Neuman can blow up people's heads from a distance, and you got Homelander who's slowly going insane, like, how do we stop the Supes? And he's like, well, apparently there's a Supe killing weapon from the 80s that Russia has that we can use to kill these Supes. It was what was used to take out Soldier Boy. So they decide, all right, we have to go to Russia and get this weapon. They head to Russia. The female breaks Hughie's arm, so he can't show up to work without, a reason for being out. And they head to Russia, and Hughie finds out that Butcher is doing the Temp V, and he kind of feels like he should too, But they go into this lab, they're trying to find the Supe killing weapon. They look into this chamber where they think the weapon is, and he's like, "Is that who I think it is?" And it turns out Soldier Boy's in cryostasis in this facility. And there's also some like super powered gerbil that ends up killing like a bunch of the Russian soldiers. So that's great. But Butcher like gets shot with some bullets, and then they find out that he's unhurt, and they're like, "How'd you do that?" And like right before like something's about to happen to somebody, Hughie teleports and puts his arm right through like this soldier. So they find out Hughie's also on the Temp V. And the funny thing about his teleportation powers is it only teleports his physical mass. It doesn't teleport his clothes, so he's naked after every time. So that's just a recurring gag throughout the show. So Soldier Boy is alive, and he comes out and he just explodes, and the explosion kind of like hits the female, and he walks off disoriented. And so we find out that the female is not healing anymore after this explosion. So it turns out that the Supe killing weapon is Soldier Boy himself. They turned him into this. They gave him an ability that can burn the compound V basically out of the blood of any Supe, and if you're too close, you just pretty much get obliterated. They don't actually really explain. They like it was almost like a whole Winter Soldier aspect. He's like the Winter Soldier meets Captain America meets Omni-Man, I guess. But he's not that dark. Not Omni-Man. Just, I don't know. Somebody who's just a tad darker. And Jensen Ackles in this role is phenomenal. They really need to either give him his own prequel series in the form of Payback, or, you know, bring him back for more seasons, because I really like him. And just him working with Eric Kripke again is like perfect. But so the female's not healing. They get her to a hospital and get her healed up, and the female's kind of happy she doesn't have her powers anymore, because like earlier in the scene when they're trying to get the information on this Russian lab, she ends up saving all these sex slaves from like this Russian oligarch, and she kills them with like a bunch of dildos and kills all the other guys. And the girls like shoot at her. They shoot her in the head because they think she's gonna kill them next. She's like, "No, I'm not the bad guy. I'm a hero." And like this whole, she had like a great arc this season. She's learning how to talk again, and she, like I said, she spends most of the season depowered, which is great, until she eventually does get her powers back in the end. So we got Soldier Boy, who is on the loose, and you know he's trying to figure out exactly what happened to him. So they're like, he's going to go after his old team, which is Payback. Now, Payback was Vought's superhero team before the Seven were. They were the big team, and the members of the team included Soldier Boy, Black Noir, the TNT Twins, Gunpowder, the Crimson Countess, Swatto, and Mindstorm. And I think that's all the members. But they have this whole flashback sequence where Black Noir is talking to young Stan Edgar, and he's talking about how, you know, he wants to be able to do more for the team, and he's tired of wearing the mask. And this is like the 80s, and Stan Edgar's telling us that, look, you're black, and below the Mason-Dixon line, people don't want a black guy on the United States' most premier superhero team, so just wear the mask. People like the whole mystery of they don't know who you are. And he's like, I'm not wearing the mask. And this is a actual fantastic thing that happens, because him not wearing the mask is the reason he ends up the way he is now, because it turns out that later in a flashback from Black Noir, they actually were setting up Soldier Boy to be taken by the Russians, because they were creating a new superhero, which was Homelander, and they didn't need Soldier Boy anymore, and they didn't want some kind of like rivalry between the two. So they were setting him up to be taken, but of course he's like super strong. And so this is the thing we get. It's like the power level between Homelander and Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy is like peak strength, rivaling that, if not stronger than Homelander. But Homelander, of course, can fly. He has super hearing, laser vision, these other ancillary powers that Soldier Boy doesn't have. But so they try to, you know, knock him out, and they try to take him out, but Soldier Boy pretty much starts wrecking shop with them. And when he's fighting Noir, since Noir doesn't have his helmet on, Soldier Boy like knocks out a chunk of his brain in the back of his head, and then burns his face on a car. And so that's why his face is all scarred, and that's why he only wears the mask now, because he is like just a mutilated guy. And you find out his real name is Irving, and his whole backstory is sad, and we'll get back to him later. And let me go more through the season. I've already taken more time than I wanted, and I'm still just in the opening, guys. Still in the opening. But, you know, Hughie and Butcher are taking the Temp V. It turns out that the Temp V is actually fatal if you take it more than like 3 times. It causes like lesions in the brain. Then Stan Edgar actually left this part out of the research. You got Starlight's whole deal where her ex-boyfriend, who is Drummer Boy, he now goes by Supersonic. They're trying to fill in the Seven, so he joins the Seven, and Homelander picks the Deep as the seventh member, so he has somebody on his side. And in doing so, he makes the Deep like eat like his octopus friend. It's so sick and twisted. He's like, oh, his name is Timothy. Oh, he's praying. But of course, Starlight wants to take down Homelander, so she enlists Supersonic to help, and she tells him like all the bad things he's done. Of course, A-Train is now back in the Seven as well after last season, and Supersonic tries to get A-Train on their side, but A-Train rats Supersonic out to Homelander, and Homelander just kills Supersonic. Like, you really think Supersonic's going to play a big part in the season, only to just be destroyed like one episode later. You don't even get to see him be killed. You just see his mutilated body on the roof where Homelander takes Starlight and shows her. And it's brutal. You do miss him, and she gives A-Train like a big piece of her mind. It's like what is your deal? Like, you just want to be loved by a guy who hates you. Like, why are you doing this? And like, A-Train's one of those characters who starts out working with Homelander, and he's doing things he shouldn't, and you think he's gonna get some kind of redemption arc, but he keeps like fumbling his own redemption by just doing ridiculous things. Like this season, what he did by getting Supersonic killed, and he has this whole deal with his brother, where he's like, "Look, man, like, are you on the drugs or whatever?" He's like, "No, I'm not on drugs anymore. I can't even do it." And A-Train has this whole thing going on this season where his heart will give out if he even like attempts to run. So he's basically useless because he was doing all that compound V. So his brother's like, well, there's this hero Blue Hawk who's just been very aggressive with people. He even killed this one guy who was just walking home because this white lady thought he was following her. And like he said, he stepped on his head so hard he cracked the concrete. So he goes, talks to her. He does this whole like Black Power thing. He wants to change up his look. And she gets Blue Hawk in the room, and he's like, I go where the crime is, and black people do the crime. He's like, look, I'll apologize. So he goes, has him apologize, but like when people start questioning his apology, he flips out and ends up paralyzing A-Train's brother, and A-Train just is so upset about this. And so later at Herogasm, which is nowhere near as disgusting or sexual as it is in the comics, it is very tame. It is very sexual. You see a lot of penises, flaming penises, electric penises, boobs, termites there jumping in more vaginas. Love Sausage is there as well with his giant penis. Very, very tame compared to what happened in the comics. But Blue Hawk is there, and A-Train talks to him and like chokes him and like just runs him, dragging his body for who knows how far until he dies. And of course A-Train has another heart attack. But the great thing about the scene, like I was talking about A-Train, like you just think there's going to be a redeeming arc. He's talking to Hughie, and like he actually apologized to Hughie. He's like, Hughie, I'm sorry for what I did to your girlfriend. Like I really do feel bad about it. Like, it was an accident. Like I would not have chosen to do that. And Hughie wasn't expecting this apology, and he's still upset, and he punches him. And A-Train's like, how did you do that? Because he's like, how did this normal guy hurt me? Because he doesn't know Hughie is on Temp V. But A-Train has a heart attack, and it turns out him and Blue Hawk have the same blood type. And Ashley Barnett, and she says, turns out you and Blue Hawk were a match, and we put his heart in your body, and it's a completely healthy heart, and now you can run again and do all this stuff, and we're gonna bring you back. And like, A-Train's like, I won't do it. And she's like, look, she gives him this great speech about how he's always looking out for himself, and you're just a very selfish person, and just think about all the things like we've covered up for you, like the people you've killed and your girlfriend who you also killed. And then A-Train just kind of lays there and realizes, that basically that he's just an awful human being. But yeah, really, like, there's so much this season. Like, there's no way I can get into every little bit of the innuendo, the small corners of this season without going like an hour. And my spoiler reviews shouldn't go that long. I think the longest one was like 45 minutes. But, like the Deep, he's getting like these sexual feelings with a lot of sea creatures this season. He has sex with like 2 different octopuses, and he has his girlfriend at the same time, and it's so gross. The Deep is just like just a gross character, but like you love him. He's just like so pathetic sometimes. Just fun to see. Queen Maeve, she doesn't want to be in the Seven anymore, and she really hates Homelander and just wants to expose him. And her and Billy Butcher have their whole deal going on, and they actually hook up this season, which is a pretty funny scene when he's on Temp V. And like eventually the whole ordeal with Soldier Boy this season, once again, I cannot say this enough. Jensen Ackles is amazing in this role, and he really needs to come back. But he's going after his old team, figuring out why they betrayed him. He's killing them all one by one. And Billy Butcher's like, I'll help you find payback if you help me kill Homelander. So he's cool with that, and he's like, all right, fine, whatever. That's the deal. I'll kill Homelander. And so they're going, killing all the whole team, and then the information he finds out that Homelander is actually his son. Also, another thing about Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy ages slowly. Like, some soups, they age slower, and he was one of them. And he says, yeah, in the 80s, we were like, we're kind of going to have to stop, saying how old he is because he doesn't really age. So, finds out that Homelander is his son, and still doesn't really care about him. He plans to use this against him anyway, but he has, like, this moment. He's like, went to Vogelbaum's office, they jerked off into a cup. They said it was a random check, but you were born 9 months later from my sperm or whatever. And this actually makes Homelander very happy, because before they had this intense fight where they were about to kill Homelander, but Homelander escaped. And so Homelander finds out from Neuman where his son is in exchange for giving her some compound V for Neuman to give to her daughter, because she doesn't want her daughter getting killed because her daughter is normal. And Stan Edgar is also like her father, technically, but not like by blood. Like, he adopted her, or technically the company adopted her. And Stan Edgar is still one of the coolest characters in the show. Like, even with everything that happens to him, he's so level-headed and so cool. Giancarlo Esposito, that guy has to get an Oscar on top of any other awards he has, because he's one of the greats right now. But so he finds his son, and he takes Ryan to Vought Tower before the big battle happens, and he tries to appeal to Soulja Boy. He's like, look, this is your grandson, Ryan. We can be a family. Homelander's like, come on, we can do this. And Soulja Boy looks at him, and he's like, I'm sorry that you are the way you are, and it's because I wasn't there to be a father to you, and I need to end you. So they start fighting. And actually, more about Soulja Boy. You find out, from all his movies, he's supposed to be about this kid from, the streets of Pittsburgh who's poor and who becomes an American superhero. He's like, that's far from the truth. My dad owned, half the steel mills in the state. I was very rich and an affluent kid, and I used my father's connections to get into the superhero trials. And it's because his father never really respected him, and he just tried to gain his father's respect, and he never actually got it. And Homelander never had a family, so he's like the worst parts of Soulja Boy magnified, and that's what makes him such a great villain. And Soulja Boy is such a great anti-hero, because he's not all bad, but if he were all bad, he would be Homelander. But they start to fight, and they're about to take him out, but Soulja Boy starts to attack Ryan. Not attack, he knocks him out of the way, and Butcher's like, okay, maybe this guy shouldn't, we can't hurt the kid, and if he does the thing, he'll kill everybody around. Because Butcher's fine dying, but he doesn't want anybody else to get hurt. So they all team up and they take down Soulja Boy, and they're gonna knock him back out so he can go back in the crowd. But he doesn't want to, so he starts to blow himself up. And Homelander escapes, he saves Ryan, but Maeve tackles Soulja Boy out the window, and she loses her powers. And they put Soulja Boy back up in crowd stasis for him to come back more seasons, hopefully. Homelander shows the world Ryan is his son, because Ryan is mad at Butcher for how he started treating him when he was on Temp V. And I don't think there is a 7 anymore, because Starlight quit. Black Noir got killed by Homelander. I really don't know what's going to happen to that group in season 4, but I'm interested to see where it goes. Like I said, guys, there's so much more I can say about the season. It was overall truly enjoyable. I cannot wait for the next season, see what they do, see what other new superheroes show up, and how they're going to go moving forward. That everything is pretty much broken down, so to speak. Oh yeah, by the way, Kimiko gets her powers back. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, and she gets her healing powers back, so that's all good on that front. Of course, Billy Butcher used the Temp V too many times, so he is now dying, and he has only a year left to live. So I'm pretty sure that'll play a big part in the next season. I think this show will probably go 5 seasons. Kripke tends to love the 5-season format and having some main characters die at the end. So I think at the end of the 5th season, Butcher will die, and that should be how the show ends. Also, Victoria Neuman is now, Homelander has the vice presidential candidate for Singer killed, so now Neuman is his new vice president. slash running mate. So if they win, you'll have a Supe in the White House, and then she can blow his head up whenever she wants, and she can become president and make a world basically however she wants it. So overall, great lead into season 4. Great season overall. I can't wait to see what they do. I've said that numerous times. Please bring back Jensen Ackles. But that is it for me, guys. Remember, you can view this spoiler review on YouTube and the blog, flipfrogllc.com/flixfrog. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, everybody, hey, come here, listen. Make sure that you subscribe. Yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, everything. Make sure you like, comment, and share. We are currently running a competition through the end of July where if you do all that, you could win a 4K copy of Edge of Tomorrow. So make like a frog and jump on that. My next Let's Talk Spoilers is going to be Thor Love and Thunder. Very good movie by Taika Waititi. A little bit heavy on the comedy as always, but I can't wait to talk about that with you guys. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.